1. Home alone. The house was unusually quiet that afternoon. The kind of quiet that comes with an empty home. The only sounds being the ticking of the clock and the occasional hum of the refrigerator. 12-year-old Lucas sat on the couch, absorbed in his video game. His senses tuned out to everything but the screen. His parents had gone out for a few hours, leaving him alone for the first time. They trusted him to be responsible, and he relished the independence. As he maneuvered his character through a digital maze, the phone rang, jolting him out of his concentration. He glanced at the caller ID Dad. That was strange. His dad rarely called the house phone, especially since he had his cell. Lucas picked up the receiver. "Hey buddy, it's me," said a voice that sounded just like his father's. "I need you to help me with the groceries. I left my wallet at home, and I'm stuck at the store. Can you bring it over?" Lucas frowned. Something didn't feel right. His dad never forgot his wallet, and he always used his cell phone to call, not the house phone. Where are you?" Lucas asked, trying to buy time. "At the usual place, just down the road," the voice replied, slightly impatient. "Come on, hurry up. I'll call Mom and check with her first," Lucas said cautiously. There was a brief pause. "Never mind, I'll figure it out," the voice said, then abruptly hung up. Lucas's heart was pounding. He knew something was off. His dad would never get annoyed over something so small. He grabbed his own cell phone and dialed his mother's number. No answer. He tried his dad's cell next, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic started to set in, but he tried to stay calm. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Lucas's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't expecting anyone. He tiptoed to the front window and peeked through the blinds. A man stood on the porch, dressed in a hoodie, his face partially obscured. Lucas didn't recognize him. "Who is it?" he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's me, your brother," the man said. Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. His brother had died 2 years ago in a car accident. This was impossible. "Open up, Lucas," the man said, his voice eerily calm. "I need to talk to you." Terror gripped him. He backed away from the door, his mind racing. His parents had drilled into him never to open the door for strangers, and he was grateful for their caution now. He ran to the kitchen and grabbed the landline phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. "911, what's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked. "I'm home alone, and there's a man pretending to be my brother trying to get in," Lucas whispered urgently. "He says he's my brother, but my brother is dead. I think he might have my dad's phone." "Stay calm, honey," the dispatcher said. "Help is on the way. Can you find a safe place to hide?" Lucas nodded, then realized she couldn't see him. "Yes," he whispered. He ran upstairs to his parents' bedroom and locked the door, then crawled under the bed. He could hear the man outside trying to open windows, his calm demeanor replaced by frustrated muttering. The minutes felt like hours as Lucas waited, every creak of the house amplified in the silence. Finally, he heard the sound of sirens approaching. He heard shouting, followed by the heavy footsteps of police officers entering the house. "It's okay, you're safe now," an officer called out. "You can come out." Lucas crawled out from under the bed, his legs trembling. He slowly made his way downstairs, where 2 officers stood, their expressions serious but reassuring. "It's over," one of them said gently. "We got them." As it turned out, the men had stolen his father's phone and used it to lure Lucas out of the house. They had a history of burglaries and had been looking for an easy target. The police had arrived just in time to catch them in the act. When his parents returned, they were frantic with worry but overwhelmingly relieved to find him safe. They hugged him tightly, praising his quick thinking and bravery. The ordeal left Lucas shaken, but also proud. He had stayed calm and done the right thing, even in the face of danger. The house was filled with noise again. His parents talking to the police, the hum of conversation, and the comforting sounds of everyday life. Lucas realized that the quiet he had once found so appealing now felt oppressive and eerie. He had learned a valuable lesson about caution and courage, one that he would carry with him forever. The experience had been terrifying, but it had also shown him the importance of trusting his instincts. As he lay in bed that night, the events replaying in his mind, he felt a newfound sense of maturity. He knew he was no longer just a kid. He was capable of handling more than he had ever imagined. 2. A camping trip gone wrong. The dense foliage of Lake Placid Forest enveloped us as we set up camp, the setting sun casting long shadows that danced on the ground. Jack and I, old friends from college, had long planned this weekend getaway to escape the pressures of our final year. With our tent pitched and a fire crackling, we felt a serene disconnect from the bustling world we had left behind. As night descended, the forest came alive with the symphony of nocturnal creatures. The hoot of an owl and the rustling of leaves created an eerie yet thrilling ambience. We shared stories under the starry sky, the flickering flames casting a warm glow on our faces. The isolation felt liberating, and for a while it seemed we were the only two souls in the world. Our conversation was interrupted by a faint, rhythmic sound, footsteps crunching on the forest floor. We exchanged nervous glances but dismissed it as a deer or some other harmless animal. Then came the humming. It was a low, tuneful sound, almost human. The hairs on my arms stood on end as the melody grew closer, more distinct. Jack tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but his voice betrayed his unease. The fire was dying down, and we decided to turn in for the night. Sleep came slowly, as every rustle and snap outside the tent seemed amplified in the stillness of the forest. Just as I was drifting off, I heard it, the soft thud of something landing near our campsite. My heart raced as I peered out of my sleeping bag, eyes straining in the darkness. The silhouette of a head poked into the tent, and I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking it was Jack. "Jack, what are you doing?" I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. The figure didn't respond, simply stared. It wasn't until I heard Jack's snore from the other side of the tent that the dread set in. The head withdrew, and I lay paralyzed with fear, realizing there was someone, or something, else out there with us. "Jack, wake up," I hissed, shaking him urgently. He groggily sat up, and I recounted what I'd seen. His eyes widened with alarm, and we both sat in tense silence, listening. The footsteps returned, circling our campsite, accompanied by the eerie humming. We clutched our flashlights and pocket knives, hearts pounding, as we tried to pinpoint the intruder's location. Hours dragged by, each minute an eternity. We heard twigs snapping, leaves rustling, and the occasional whisper of wind, but the intruder remained elusive. We debated whether to make a run for it, but decided against it, fearing we might run straight into the arms of whatever was out there. Instead, we huddled together, weapons at the ready, and waited for the first light of dawn. As the sky began to lighten, the sounds gradually faded away, leaving us in an oppressive silence. With the morning light came a semblance of safety, and we hastily packed our belongings, eager to leave the forest behind. The once enchanting wilderness now felt like a sinister trap, and we couldn't escape fast enough. We trudged back to civilization, the events of the night replaying in our minds. The humming, the footsteps, the shadowy figure, all remained unexplained. Exhausted and shaken, we vowed never to speak of it to anyone. The fear we had experienced was beyond words, a primal terror that left an indelible mark on our souls. To this day, the memory of that night haunts me. Whenever I hear a faint melody or the crunch of leaves underfoot, I'm transported back to Lake Placid Forest, to the terror of the unknown lurking in the dark. Our innocent adventure had turned into a nightmare, reminding us that sometimes it's not the wilderness that poses the greatest danger, but what lies within it. 3. The mystery on the beach. The sun was setting as we arrived at the quaint beach house nestled along the Californian coast. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, casting a serene glow over the ocean. The three of us, Emily, Mike, and I, were thrilled to escape the grind of college life for a weekend of relaxation by the sea. The house, a charming two-story with large windows facing the beach, seemed perfect for our getaway. As we unpacked and settled in, the sound of waves crashing on the shore provided a soothing backdrop. We spent the evening on the deck, sharing stories and laughing, the worries of our academic responsibilities melting away with each passing minute. The night was clear, the stars twinkling brightly above, and we felt a sense of peace that only such a setting could provide. After dinner, we decided to take a stroll along the beach. The cool sand felt refreshing under our feet as we walked, the moonlight reflecting off the water creating a mesmerizing effect. We chatted and joked, the conversation flowing easily as it always did among close friends. That's when Emily spotted her first, a lone figure in the water. "Do you see that?" she asked, pointing towards the ocean. Mike and I squinted, trying to make out the figure in the dim light. A woman stood waist-deep in the water, her long hair streaming down her back. She seemed to be staring directly at us. "Maybe she's just enjoying a night swim," Mike suggested, but his voice lacked conviction. There was something unsettling about the way she stood there, motionless, as if watching us. We continued our walk, trying to shake off the eerie feeling, but when we turned back towards the house, the woman was gone. Relieved, we returned to the beach house and settled in for the night. I chose the room with the large window facing the beach, hoping to fall asleep to the sound of the waves. Around midnight, a soft tapping noise woke me. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened intently. There it was again, a rhythmic tap, tap, tap against the window. I mustered the courage to look outside but saw nothing. The beach was empty, the moon casting long shadows on the sand. I decided to check on the others. Emily was fast asleep, and Mike was sprawled out on his bed, snoring softly. Feeling a bit foolish, I returned to my room, convinced it was just the wind or a branch brushing against the glass. Sleep came slowly, my mind restless with unease. The next morning, we decided to explore the small town nearby. As we chatted with the locals, we mentioned our strange encounter from the night before. An older couple, the Bakers, who lived next door, exchanged knowing glances. "We've seen her too," Mrs. Baker said, her voice low. "She appears occasionally, always at night. We've heard the tapping on our windows as well. But when we look, there's no one there." Their account sent chills down my spine. They told us that many residents had similar experiences, but no one knew who she was or where she came from. Some believed she was a spirit, perhaps from a shipwreck long ago, while others thought she might be a wanderer with a tragic past. That night, we huddled together in the living room, reluctant to sleep in our separate rooms. The atmosphere was tense, each of us on edge. The hours dragged by, and just as we were beginning to relax, the tapping started again. This time, it was louder, more insistent. We crept towards the window, hearts racing, but once again, there was nothing outside but the empty beach. We left the beach house the next morning, our weekend getaway cut short by the unsettling occurrences. The drive back to campus was quiet, each of us lost in our thoughts. The mystery of the woman on the beach remained unsolved, her presence haunting our memories. Back at school, we shared our story with friends, but few believed us. The logical part of me tried to dismiss it as a series of coincidences or perhaps a prank by locals, but deep down, I knew what we experienced was real. The image of the woman in the water and the sound of the tapping stayed with me, a reminder that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Even now, years later, the memory lingers. Every time I visit the coast, I find myself scanning the water, half expecting to see her standing there, watching. Our beach house adventure had turned into a tale of the inexplicable, a reminder that the world is full of mysteries just waiting to be discovered or feared. If you like these stories, check out the book in the description of the video. Thank you for joining us on this harrowing journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of terror. Until next time, stay safe and beware the shadows.